You are a machine. You are.
What's going on, guys? Sankus here, and it's been a long time since I've done one of these. So this video is going to be some serum stuff that I like to do. Yeah, maybe you'll pick up one or two things that you like and want to start using, or want to throw in your knowledge toolbox or whatever. Yeah, so I know there's been a lot of cool synthesizers coming out, like Faceplant or the Vital synth, which I love, but Serum is still one of my go-to synthesizers. I mean, it's one of my favorite plugin purchases that I've made, and yeah, I still find myself using it quite often and going to pull it out quite often. So yeah, let's go over some cool things that I like to do that hopefully some of you didn't know about, or some of you didn't know all of them, or whatever. So yeah, here's the track that we're going to be using for this example. Just a little wobbly, wonky kind of thing. Let's go ahead and play it.
Here comes, thank heaven, another enemy.
So that is the patch that we're going to be using here. I'll toss this preset in the description so you guys can download it if you're interested in it. It's nothing too special, some basic shapes with a phaser and some effects, and yeah, just some things doing some stuff, so pretty general overview of that. Yeah, so the first thing that I want to talk about is actually this neat little thing that you can watch happen here in the LFO2. Let's go ahead and play that one more time, except without the build-up. And you can watch this guy dance around a little bit. So what that is doing is I've got an LFO modulating a point in another LFO. So LFO2, which is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, is modulated by, well, the upper point here of the pyramid shape, the triangle, is being modulated by LFO6. So as you can see, destination's LFO bus 1. So yeah, it is doing that with a ramp shape and just kind of wiggling this guy around. So if we go ahead and check that out with it being bypassed here, LFO6, LFO bus 1, pull this guy down, check it out without it. So it is moving around the point, as you can see, and probably here giving it that added kind of wonkiness as it's following this curve. It's being pulled back and forth and making it, well, changing the timing of the wobble a bit, so you can take the point, move it around, and get some interesting variations on it. And of course, you can draw a different shape in here and make it more complex. And yeah, sure, yeah, sure, you could go ahead and draw in whatever kind of wonkiness you want in the actual LFO shape, but it makes for some interesting results, having it modulated by another LFO and then doing your complex stuff here, or even then modulating the point in your other LFO and just having a chain of modulations, creating random wackiness if you're into that sort of thing. So we can pull that back a little bit. Change it to bipolar mode. There, something like that. And that is that. So let me show you how that's actually done. It's not super difficult. And let's just go ahead and wait for it to load. Create a fat base here. Sick.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take LFO2. I'll just make a ramp shape like that. Go back to our LFO1. We've got our point here. You can do this with any point you want. We'll just use this point here for the example. And all you need to do, as you can imagine, is take your LFO2, drag it in, and then you have a choice. Do you want to choose the x-axis or the y-axis? Obviously, x is going to make it go left to right. Y is going to go and make it go up and down, not upside down, unless you're into that sort of thing. So I'll slap it onto the X here. I'm not aware of a way to adjust the amount unless you go into the matrix. You could change the amount and you can see the blue line moving around like that. Bada boom, cool. You can change it to be bipolar mode. And if you change the speed of it, or even have it non-synced to the DAW BPM, you can increase it a little bit for a dramatic effect. And then of course you can draw in all kinds of complex shapes here. So it creates some interesting possibilities for modulation and kind of not just, I wouldn't really call it randomization, but yeah, modulation chains and making your modulation sound a little bit more interesting, or adding some variations into it like I've done here. So a very subtle effect in this patch. But of course, you can go as crazy as you want with it. I just kind of wanted to show off this cool little thing that you can do in Serum. So, you know, modulate to your heart's content. So the second thing I want to show you guys is something I've been doing for a while. And, yeah, velocity doesn't have to be velocity. So in Serum, you of course have the velocity control here, which you can, you know, toss in your levels, and then when you play or edit the velocities in your piano roll.
Let's go ahead and find, no, that's wrong. Let's go ahead and find the bass MIDI.
You can of course change the velocities of your notes by, you know, using the velocity control. But it doesn't have to be velocity. You can toss this baby on anything, such as the LFO rate over here. Like that. And that means when you go into your piano roll, you can use the velocity control here, go under control, note velocity, to change the amount of modulation on whatever you toss the velocity doohickey thing on here. So of course here, I've used it for the LFO rate, so I can change LFO rate on the fly in MIDI. So you can have fast LFOs or slow LFOs. Of course, it doesn't just have to be LFOs. If you want to toss it on the filter or your wavetable position or your FM amount or whatever, you can then have creative control over that modulation on a per note basis by tweaking the velocity here. So that's a nice little thing to be aware of, because you don't have to do everything in automation, and being able to do things in the piano roll on a per note basis is pretty cool. I mean, this doesn't just apply to bass sounds. You know, you can have it on pads, leads, whatever, and have each note have their own character or modulation, or, you know, whatever it is you want. Say this is your lead sound and you add LFO 1 on the master tune under global here. Give it a little bit of that. All right, so you've got a little bit of vibrato, so you can take your aux source and have that be velocity. Here it is. Boom. Cool. So, well, I'm still on the wrong thing here. So if you take your Serum here. And draw in low velocity here, and you have another note, and you draw in a high velocity for that. Can you have each note sort of have, you know, vibrato, engage the vibrato if you want to, by having the velocity as an auxiliary source. I would make it bipolar as well, so the note doesn't really change off pitch. I mean, that's a super basic example of that, but again, I mean, you can toss it on anything and make it sound cool. Yeah, just another way to approach your workflow and creative MIDI writing stuff. So lastly, although this one isn't as much of a game changer, well then again I wouldn't call them, these two things, exactly game changers, but they certainly are useful little things to know. But so is this, and that is that your filters here, well, your filter here, and also your effects, basically anything on this page that has a mix, doesn't just have a mix, but if you if you click mix, you will see that it has changed to level, and that is the case for all of these mix knobs that you have here. So if we add the delay, we can click the mix here and it will change to level, and that is useful to know as well, because that will give you an extra modulation source to, well, change the dynamics of your sound, or you know, do gain staging of the effects, so to speak. So in this patch here, you can see I've actually changed it from mix to level. And if we bypass this and turn it all the way down, you can slowly start to turn it up, and it will increase the output of the signal through this filter here. So not just mixing the filter, but with the level actually modulating the output that's coming out of the filter. And that can be said for all of these effects here. In the compressor, for example, we can change it to level and adjust the level of the output there. Distortion. And of course, we can modulate that as well. And there's a lot of things that you just have to click to find out, like being able to modulate the position or percentage of the bands in the multi-band compressor. So I'm OTTing the sound, so to speak, with this multi-band compressor. And the lows and highs are being squashed quite a bit, but the mids are a little bit more dynamic because I'm actually modulating the mid band. So I've slapped like this the LFO on my band. Here it is, LFO2 on comp band M, which is mids, and it is changing the position of this mid band. There's a lot of different ways that you can add more movement into your sound with Serum, because so much stuff is modulatable that you wouldn't even think is modulable. Modifiable. Yeah, you just have to click around sometimes. There's so many things that you can do. Serum's wild, man. Still love this plugin. So yeah, that was pretty much my little small tips. Nothing too big, but also pretty interesting things that I use in almost every patch that I've been creating recently. Yeah, it's just little fun things. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a nice weekend. Peace.